Okay. Hi, everybody. That was my princess voice. I fucked up already. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the TXRD live stream. We are talking with our wonderful reps tonight. If you have any questions for them, feel free to add them in the chat box below, or the chat box wherever it is based on the format you are watching in. We would love to hear from you. Love to hear your reactions. So let's get started. We have three wonderful reps tonight. So if you guys will tell us your full ref name, your pronouns, the position you typically ref, how long you've been with TXRD, and any other Derby league you have been affiliated with. Let's start with Too Legit to Brit.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Too Legit to Brit. He, him. I have been head ref for, I guess this is third season of head refing, so you'll usually see me refing the bout as a head ref. And I think I've been in and around TXRD for 6 years and refing for 5 years now. I haven't been involved in other leagues.
Just us. That's fantastic. SKAnic, what about you?
Hi. I'm SKAnic the Shredhog, formerly Shredpool. My pronouns are he, him, his. I've been reffing with TXRD, I want to say 6 years? I think, something like that. I feel like I do pretty much everything. I've bout refed, I point refed. I feel like I point ref more than I penalty ref. And I am also currently skating with Austin Anarchy, a flat track league with the Lake Monsters. And that was all of the things. I'm done.
Yes. Uncle Slam, what about you?
I know.
I think Uncle Slam is muted. Uncle Slam, you're muted. We can't hear you. All right, we will hear from Uncle Slam in a second. We love you very much. As we were just discussing,
It worked earlier.
Is the TXRD style. So we are very excited to hear from Uncle Slam in just a second. As soon as we get him going, we'll do his intro. But let's go ahead and get started with some questions. And actually, before we do questions, let's talk about ways you at home can support TXRD. So we have a new website, which is beautiful. You can always buy some merch from us, support your favorite team. Get a Hellcats shirt. I'm not biased. Just get a Hellcats shirt. Some Hellcat merch would be really cool. We also have a GoFundMe. You can search TXRD. The GoFundMe is listed on TXRD.com. And very soon we will be having some limited edition shirts that you can buy to support us. Yes, we can hear you now. Awesome. Cool. Let's go back to Uncle Slam for an intro.
Hello again. I'm Uncle Slam. He, him, his. I am in my second full season of refereeing for TXRD, and I'm not affiliated with any other leagues. Typically, I'm a point ref.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, and as always, if anybody watching, if you are interested in joining or volunteering with TXRD as a ref, as a production member, or even joining as a skater, email recruitment@txrd.com. We'd love to have you. So, starting off with some questions. What got you interested in refereeing in general for such a niche sport? Let's start with SKAnic.
So, I feel like with many other people, I got involved initially with having seen the movie Whip It. At the time, I lived in San Antonio, and the movie takes place in Austin, and I had never really heard of roller derby, so when I realized that A, it did exist, and B, it was in Austin, I went to check it out, and that's how I started showing up as a fan, and that would have been 2011, I think. And then a few years later, I worked at a software company and was trying to get my coworkers to come out, and one of them happened to mention that one of our other coworkers did something with roller derby and I should talk to him about it. So I emailed him and just we started chatting, and he said, yeah, at halftime, come and we'll hang out and talk. And I did, and turns out it was Neil before Zod, who is a former referee, senior ref, Hellcat coach, trainer. So while we were talking, he mentioned, have you ever thought about being a referee? And the answer was no, I didn't know you could just do that. So he recruited me into this loving family.
That's fantastic. Liam, what is your story?
2016, I just happened by fluke to see that TXRD, Texas Roller Girls, was going to be, or was on TV, was about to be broadcast on the TV I was watching, so I watched it. So I thought roller derby had been dead for decades. I remembered as a kid growing up, and I thought, man, I got to go check this out. So I went as a fan, found out that there was the rec league, and they teach me how to skate. Tried my hand at that, and figured out that, okay, I might be able to do this, but there'd be a better way to get involved if I could become a ref, because it might involve a little less contact. So that's what I've done, and it's just a blast. Love doing it.
That's awesome. Yeah, as a ref, we yell at you more, but hit you less. So it's kind of a trade-off, I feel like. Brit, what's your story?
When I had vague awareness of roller derby, I'd been to see a couple of flat track bouts in New Jersey there. But when I moved down to Austin, and I was working downtown at a coffee shop in the same building as I worked, Like a Boss and Master Peyton both worked as baristas. So I spent a lot of time chatting to them. They invited me to a first bout. I was pretty hooked after that as a fan. After that, I also started getting into skating. Asked Lacey Bones if I could go to her Derby Academy. Started doing that. And then Hatchet Ma, who was head ref at the time, just put out, I think, an email or something about ref recruitment. So I went along to that. Started off training then. And I think I was ref for 2 years doing that, and then became head ref. And as I say, this is my third year head ref.
That's awesome, and we're very glad to have you. So next question. If you could change one rule in the game, no questions asked, what would it be? And this is from one of our lovely hired guns. So, Slam, let's hear from you.
Make forearms legal.
Holy shit.
They tend to get used quite a lot. It's kind of like holding in the NFL. You can call a forearm on just about any jam anyway. It would lend to the aggressive nature of the sport.
That is totally fair. I can't see that going over super well with the skaters, but I love that answer.
You didn't ask
so
that.
Good. Oh man, I don't know. That's a really good answer. I would probably make it, I don't know how I would word it, but make it in such a way that fighting was more legal. I'd have to work out the details, but just encourage, or rather disallow not fighting even more, because in my opinion, that's the best part. Yeah.
I love that. Maybe we could incentivize fighting. Your team gets a point if you win a fight.
Right.
If you make someone else cry. That's what I want.
Oh, that's
Make
so
someone
good.
cry, you get a point. I say that as somebody who's cried on the track multiple times. So, Britt, what about you?
I'm not sure there is. Maybe I would get rid, just because it always confuses me of which one to call. I would probably get rid of direction of play. We usually call it when it's an illegal block, when people are stock blocking and blocking going backwards. Skating the other way without that, I wouldn't be too worried about it. Plus, as I say, I tend to get confused about which one I want to call.
Sure. That makes sense. I know flat track, they can, and SKAnic, I think you'll have to clarify here, flat track can skate backwards, but you can't contact backwards, correct?
Yeah, basically that's how that works.
Okay. I don't play flat track. I barely know our rules. So,
Same.
What is your favorite bout that you have ever been a part of? And let's start with SKAnic.
Favorite bout I've ever been a part of? Okay. So, I think it was 2 years ago. Time is meaningless. I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago. It was the either playoffs or champs. Clearly, the details are ingrained into my brain. It was Putas versus Rhinestones, and it was neck and neck, and I was point reffing for the Putas when Like a Boss came in, and the Putas were down by 2, I think. Boss came in, hit 3 blockers, and then immediately fell out. And to the untrained eye, it appeared that she had not gotten any of the points. But I gave her the 3, and I was confident that it was the 3 points, and everyone was against me. I remember the whole stadium was jeering, but nope, 3 points. And then later, a fan video came out, and you could very clearly see that she passed the 3 skaters, the 3 blockers, and then fell out. And I was vindicated in my talent and correctitude, and I think I will remember that for a very long time.
That's awesome. Being right.
I remember that as well.
It was very intense.
My reaction as head ref, the first time you called that was like, really? And then I saw it back. So that's the importance of point ref has the vantage point.
Yeah, that was a good one. Brit, what about you?
That was one of my favorite bouts as well. I think the Putas ended up winning that bout by like 2 points, and I remember that well because that wasn't at Palmer, was it? That was at the Expo.
I thought that was at Palmer.
No, I thought it was at Palmer. I think I remember that one.
Maybe, but actually, my favorite bout was the last one. Because that was the first bout back. I had back surgery at the end of last year. So I had not been practiced that much, and I had missed a couple of bouts. And then the first bout back is a 1-point game and a crazy game as well. So that was a lot. And honestly, like, they stressed me out a lot at the time, but they are always the ones where I get out of them pumped. And I look back on them hyped, so that last bout was my favorite.
Slam, your turn.
I got to go with Brit's words. The intensity, and the energy you felt from the crowd because of how close it was, and then to have it come down to 1 point at the end was just unreal. I mean, I don't know, Robin, if you watched the footage of that yet, but. There's a shot of you late in the 4th period, getting ready to call a penalty, and you were like, "Oh God, when is this going to be over?" It was taking its toll on you too. It was all said and done.
Oh yeah,
man, I feel sorry for coming back and having this be his first bout. He's got to be bout ref for. So.
Oh great, yeah. Kramer just came to me at the end of that bout. He's like, "Welcome back."
That brings up a question from me. I'm going to go rogue here for a minute. This is a question from Zelda, Hitzgerald of the Hellcats. Do you guys, do you prefer reffing bouts that are really close like that, or do you kind of like the ones that are a little maybe easier, where it's like one team's up by 50 points, so it doesn't fucking matter what gets called? Is it stressful reffing a bout that, comes down to 1 or 2 points like that? We can start with
the stress is way more because you're aware that any decision you make is going to have an impact on the bout and the impact on the result. But like I say, I come out of it more hyped, and I'm more hyped about what it brings to the league. And honestly, if it is a blowout, that gets tough to ref as well, because you get way more fucking around towards the end of a blowout bout. And that's tough to ref as well. That's tough to ref in a different way. And sometimes that's just shenanigans. Sometimes it's hard getting blown out as a team, and people start getting annoyed and irritated, and that can be tough to ref as well. So I think that it's more stressful the closer bouts, but it's more exciting for a ref to do as well as a player, I'm sure.
That totally makes sense. SKAnic, what about you?
Yeah, I think it really kind of depends on. Well, all right, so it's two different. Like, if it's really close, then it is objectively an exciting game. But when it's a blowout, people tend to have more fun, and they'll screw around more, and they'll fight, and they'll take whips off the other team, and more just wacky shenanigans like that. So I think they're both valid, just in sort of two different ways.
Sure, totally. Slam, your turn.
That last one was terrific, was fantastic. I like the really tight, close ones. In fact, it wasn't even until the very end, before Brit made the call, where he asked Lacey, "Are you guys sure about your points? Because if that's the case, they're going to win by one." And I was like, "Really?" Because I don't even have a chance to look at the scoreboard when everything's going on during the bout. So I had no idea it was even that close. So they're like anything that the real close bouts, though. Even though I like doing them, they're good in moderation. I like to have some blowouts here and there too, because if we had to do that every week, I mean, the competition and the bouts would be incredible. But I don't know if I'd be able to take it.
For sure, yeah. It's interesting. I think kind of the bench vibe in different scenarios like that. Of course, with different teams, everybody's kind of a different vibe once you're in the middle. Anyway, so let's get a question from a member of Las Putas del Fuego. Due to the style of play throughout the teams, do you notice any common penalties per team or style of play? I'm kind of nervous to ask this because I feel like this could end in throwing some teams under the bus. I know the Hellcats have never committed a penalty ever in our lives. We're very clean, talented skaters. But what say you, Uncle Slam?
I don't really think I can put a team on it. But like I said earlier, I think forearms are like holding in the National Football League. You can call it just about all the time. I think it's gotten a little, not hasn't gotten out of hand, but I mean, you just see more of it now than you did a year or two ago.
That makes sense. That's fair. SKAnic, what about you?
I think, yes, each team really does play very differently, and they have different strategies and styles, and each style tends to lend to a certain penalty. And I will call some teams out a little bit here. For example, the Rhinestones and Cherry Bombs tend to really enjoy the backwards facing blocking, which can very easily lend towards a directional or a stop block, versus, let's say, Las Putas del Fuego. They tend to like to really control the pack and control pack definition, which can cause a 20-foot blocking out of play penalty. So I think it really just depends on. It's less about the teams doing specific penalties and more about the teams doing specific plays which cause certain penalties, if that makes sense.
That totally makes sense. Brit, what about you?
Yeah, I think SKAnic's right. It's about how the teams play. So I think there's a couple. I'm not going to name teams. There's a couple of teams that are more prone to forearms. There are a couple of teams that are more prone to stop blocks, and there's a couple of teams that are more prone to 20 feet, illegal engagement, to failure to yield. I think the interesting one, kind of was talking about stop blocking when you're skating backwards. That's always fun because, honestly, the teams that are best at it and the players that are best at it are probably also the ones that are more prone to get called on it, because to be really, really good at it is a really, really fine line between that and getting called on it. Because the better you are, the more you're slowing the other team down, and the closer you are to getting called for a stop block.
That totally makes sense. I will say, legitimately, as a skater, it's interesting because I think it is hard for us to see our own patterns. Like there are definitely teams that I'm like, oh, I know they do this all the time. And when I was a hired gun, I remember, skating with different teams and every team being like, we get called for penalties like way more than any other team in this league, and we don't even commit them. And like every team said that.
Every team that is. No, you're right. Every team that is most prone to forearms complains most about getting forearms. Every team that is most prone to stop blocking complains most about getting stop blocking. And every team calls out their flaws against all the other teams.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
I will throw my own team under the bus. I feel like a couple of us, and myself in particular, will forearm, and I know we get real mad about forearms, so I guess. All right. This question came up a couple times. What is your favorite penalty from the penalty wheel? So let's start with Slam.
I'm going to go with the 2-lap duel. It's to me, it's like a real short pillow fight, but with the added element of speed.
All right, that's totally fair. SKAnic, what about you?
I was also going to say 2-lap duel, but I don't want to copy Slam. So I'm going to go with potentially an underdog penalty. I'm going to go push cart because I feel like it has a lot more strategy and technique than people give it credit for.
That is true. There's some pretty solid strategy that goes into it. I'm not going to give it away if you don't know the strategy, but there's some strategy there.
From the
for
top,
sure.
come down.
Shh, don't tell them. Brit, what about you?
I don't like push cart. There is strategy. There is strategy you can do. I don't think it is commonly stated strategically, and therefore is not terribly interesting. My favorite actually is the relay race, and that relays are one of my favorite things to watch in sports as well. Any other sports, just because the prospect of chaos and the prospect of a mistake that can change things radically in a second is exciting to watch.
That's fair. It's always fun when somebody falls during a relay race. Love watching people. Let's go with a question from one of our fellow TXRD refs, Ted Hockley. What is an obscure and funny rule of TXRD that most fans and maybe even skaters don't know about? SKAnic, let's start with you.
All right, I'm going to take the easy one here. I'm glad I got picked first. If any team gets 3 major penalties in a row, I'm probably also getting it wrong, then they start losing points for each consecutive jam wherein they get a major penalty. I think that's mostly right.
Wait, really?
It doesn't come up much. Yeah.
Okay, again, I will fully copy.
Not just about right.
And as Mila said, that's why I'm not in charge of things. But so if you get a major penalty in 3 jams in a row, is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. So if one team gets a major penalty, right, major penalty, point loss, etc.
So what if you get 3 major penalties in 1 jam?
Then you're just screwed for the next jam.
Yeah, that's not the same.
I mean, it's happened before, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Huh, okay. Brit, what about you?
Going back to my minor penalty and my favorite minor penalty, you can block in the relay race.
Oh, yeah.
How much can you block?
Yeah.
I'm learning new things today. How much can you block?
As long as it is outside of that zone marked for you to pass the baton, you can block like you would block in a jam.
Really?
Oh, Jesus.
Secrets are getting out.
Oh my god, I am
wait for-
fascinated. I hope other skaters are learning right now. Okay, Slam, what about you?
I think mine just a little bit obscure because it just came into existence this year, the change, or I don't know the history if it's going back to the way it used to be. Also in the push cart, that only the cart has to cross the finish line from one team for the race to be won.
Yes, that was a big discussion we had earlier this year about about the cart, whether the cart had to pass or the cart and the pusher. So that's a fun one, for sure. I'm so glad I asked that question. I'm so glad Ted Hockley asked that question. I'm giving myself credit I shouldn't.
Thanks, Ted.
I like this one. Okay, this is from a hired gun. As a skater, what can I do to show my appreciation for everything that you do? And I will also extend that to anyone watching. What could a fan do to show their appreciation for you as well? Let's start with Robin.
Okay. Things like this. Just honestly, it's like make sure that from a skater point of view and from a league point of view, it's just the league is pretty good at this anyway about making refs feel like part of the league. So league events holding a Q&A for refs, that's pretty cool. As a fan, buy us a drink if you see it as an after party and volunteer to be a ref because we really need more referees because especially if we have more bouts like 1 point bouts, then we'll all be exhausted and wiped out by the time we get to finals, and we'll need people to sub in.
That is a very good answer. SKAnic, your turn.
I think I'm basically just going to reiterate. It's very nice, especially when the skaters just after the bout come up and just it really doesn't take much. Just hey, you did a great job. Thank you for what you're doing. Like that definitely helps. But more than that, buying drinks at the after party definitely is a big, at least for me personally, that's a good way to get into my good graces. But yeah, just acknowledging that we got a tough job and it's not always so easy. So yeah, just shit like this definitely helps a lot. Things like this.
Cool. Okay. Slam, what about you?
There's been a tremendous outpouring and showing of support for us the last several bouts. I felt from teams that were not participating in that night's bout, and that's fantastic. In fact, note to the rest of the refs, I've still got the last ref gift at my house that supposedly we'll pick up a round or two of bar tab at our next after party. So just FYI. But back to Robin said, volunteer to get more refs. That'd be fantastic. Skaters, what I think I've seen and learned during my short time as a ref is that what happens on and inside the track during a bout stays on and inside the track during a bout. There have been a couple instances when I've walked up to somebody at an after party and said, "Hey, are we good? Are we okay?" And they look at me like, "Yeah, what? What's?" And because they completely remembered that they, cussed me up one side and down the other, or ran into me, when they got knocked off the track or something, and then to get the hell out of my way, So just keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome, yeah, for sure. I will say it is pretty easy to get in the heat of the moment, get pretty hot-headed, but we do love you guys and appreciate you a lot. And speaking of that, I will take a moment to, as I said at the beginning of this, if you are interested in joining as a ref or any other volunteer for the league, you can email refs@txrd.com. You can email recruitment@txrd.com if you are interested in volunteering in other ways. But we would love to have you. And I will take this moment to give a shout out to our amazing sponsors. We have some fabulous sponsors. They keep this league running. They are amazing people. Pasta & Co., www.austinpasta.com. They keep us fed. It's not easy to supply, almost 100 skaters with garlic bread, but but Pasta & Co. does it, and we love them for it. Medusa Skates, www.medusaskates.com. We love them. They give us stuff. They help keep us wheels rolling. Fit Therapy / Mr. Fix It fixes our bodies when we are breaking them. www.fittherapyatx.com. Pride Socks is another amazing sponsor of us. We love them so much. www.pridesocks.com. So we'll get back into questions. There are a couple of other sponsors that we love. There are just so many amazing people within our league and within the greater world of Texas roller derby. So next question, this is from a hired gun. Is there a penalty that you find yourself washing more than others? And really quick, for those who are watching who do not know what washing means, in TXRD rules, if one team commits a penalty and another team also commits a penalty, that washes, and so neither skater gets punished for that penalty. Whether it's a minor or a major, both can wash. So, is there a penalty that you find yourself washing more than others? Brit, let's start with you.
Forearms and stop blocks, because teams do them more, so it is far more likely that there's going to be a bunch of them. I think they're probably also the two penalties that if we were really on top of calling them all the time, the bout would finish at 11 o'clock.
Totally, yeah. SKAnic.
Yeah, I think Brit covered it. It definitely the penalties that tend to just get done a lot, especially forearms, because it's very easy to just, sort of swim your way through the pack sometimes, and at a certain point you just gotta let it go.
Let it go. Slam, what about you?
I think I got to beg off on this one, not having been a bout ref, but I understand what both these guys are saying, and they're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you just, if you didn't watch it, we'd be there till 11, 12 o'clock, or things would just grind to a halt.
Totally. Let's go to some live questions that are being asked. This one is specifically for Too Legit to Brit. It is from Dyer's Eve of the Holy Rollers. Brit, can you please say Tuesday?
Say what?
Can you say Tuesday?
Cheers, Dad.
Wait, what?
What am I? What do you want me to say?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The day that comes after Monday and before Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
That's adorable.
I love that. From Astrid S. Once we're done laughing at Brit's accent.
I'm good.
From Astrid S. Since the TXRD refs are not on skates during the game, and a real quick aside for those of you who are more big track than flat track refs, I believe, skate during the game. Are not on skates during the game. I'm just wondering if they are all skaters or if some don't know how to skate and are just passionate about the sport. So let's start with Slam, since we talked about his rec experience earlier.
Try and learn how to skate. Have recovered from a broken ankle. Now I just got to cowboy up and get back to rec league. But I was always told the main reason the refs don't skate is we don't have any rules or regulations pertaining to where the non-participating team members can and cannot be during the jam, and it's a safety issue.
That makes sense. I'm thinking that might just be one of those things that, when the split happened, they got skating refs, we didn't. I don't know why we don't have skating refs, but I also can't imagine us with skating refs. And really with the amount that we shove you guys, it's probably not wise to have you on skates. SKAnic, what about you?
So I failed to mention this earlier because I'm a very clever person. I manage the TXRD Rec League, so I am I like to think, pretty comfortable skater. I actually prefer, especially when I'm point reffing, to be on skates. It lets me follow the pack around the track a lot easier, and it gives me a better vantage point from sort of right where the pack is. But considering that when, for example, someone on a bank track gets hit to the inside, they tend to come in with a lot more velocity than someone from flat track. I think that's the main reason that we don't have refs on skates, just because there have been multiple times when I'm reffing, especially point reffing, where I've had to jump out of the way of a flying skater. And I've also been taken out a couple times from a skater coming in out of my point of view. So I think it just gives us a lot more flexibility and maneuverability to not be on skates. Yeah, there you go.
Totally makes sense. I do remember once that you shoved me out of the way during a bout, and I was like, Brit, what about you?
Yeah, I started skating. Like I said, I went to Derby Academy and asked Lacey. I think I was the first guy to go and ask if I could go to Derby Academy. So I learned to skate at Derby Academy and skate at Rec League. I went a couple of times to Austin Anarchy, which is great. It's just more I wasn't able to follow up on in terms of time and time commitments. But yeah, I mean, I'm a fairly competent skater. I'm out of practice at the moment. I do think having skated does help. It helps you to know what might happen in certain situations and to know how skaters might react in certain situations, to be watching for that, than if you didn't have skating experience.
Yeah, totally. I know, and not to speak for him, but I know SKAnic has mentioned before that skating and playing in bouts, you kind of know, like, okay, now's a smart time to call it off, so I need to put my whistle in the mouth because the jammer's probably going to call it off. Or things like that. But, and just for clarification about some of our other refs who are not here tonight, we have some refs that are former league members. So of course they skate. This is kind of a really awesome way for former league members to come back and be involved, even if they're not able to make the commitment of being on a team or don't want to, go through the physical pain of being on a team. And then, I think a lot of refs have at least put skates on their feet at some point just because they are interested in the sport and the game, just to kind of see, like, what's it like rolling around with these wheelies. But it is certainly not a requirement. You do not have to be a derby skater. You don't have to know how to skate. We love you all the same. Next question from Aaron and Josh of the TXRD Fraudcast. And if you have been listening to our live, or at least the ones that I've done, yes, we are shouting them out. We really love the Fraudcast. They started this season doing coverage of our bouts. They have an amazing podcast. Search TXRD Fraudcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on SoundCloud, basically wherever you listen to your podcasts. They're some amazing fans. They love us, and they're doing a really great podcast about us. So Aaron and Josh want to know, some of you have gone over the rails.
Only one of us I can think of.
That's me.
But what is the most memorable time that you took an unplanned hit? And I do want to be clear, and SKAnic, I hope I'm not, blowing up your secrets here. SKAnic was not planning to go over the rail in that time that Boom pushed him. Not in the way that he did. He was not planning to fall backwards over the rail, but it happened. So, what is the most memorable time you took an unplanned hit? Brit, let's start with you.
I think I've been quite lucky. My back surgery, not related to refereeing injuries, so that's a good one. But I think I've been pretty lucky or nimble. Probably early when I was first just training to be a ref and doing a lot of timekeeping, and a timekeeper is part of the ref crew, and they're keeping the jam time and the bout time accurate for us, and communicating with the scoreboard. So I was doing a lot of that, and I just remember being wiped out by mouse, because you're really just focusing on a clock and you're just looking at a stopwatch, particularly as you get towards the end of a minute of a jam. And it's the one referee position, I think, where you're not looking at the bout. You're not looking at what the skaters are doing. So I wasn't paying really any attention and just got wiped by mouse, by Smitey Mouse.
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like I've almost been wiped out into refs before, but I don't know that it's actually ever fully happened. Because yeah, you guys are usually watching it, and I'm coming at your feet, but you're like, no, thank you. SKAnic, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. To echo what Britt was saying, I focus like laser focus on whatever's in front of me, and everything else doesn't matter. There was I want to say it was a rec league bout years ago where I remember, and I have no idea who it was, and it was probably just some random skater who just had showed up for a couple months and then disappeared into the ether. But I remember being taken out basically at the knees when they came sliding in, and just fortunately no injuries, but I remember falling sort of backwards over them, and it was quite the tumble. But like I said, fortunately no injuries, and I remember that very distinctly in my mind, and I wish I could remember who it was, but at this point they're probably long gone, so oh well.
Awesome. Slam, what about you?
It didn't take me very long at practice to come to the conclusion that if you're a point ref and your jammer is second out of the pack and the timing is right, and they're a half to a third of the track behind the other jammer, there's a chance that when that jammer enters the pack, you'll have your back to all the action. And that's when you're most vulnerable to have somebody get blocked out and knocked out and right into you when you're not looking. And I think that's kind of what happened during the bout last year with the cherry bombs. Now, don't even remember who they were bouting against, but I'm watching my jammer, and the pack is coming up behind me, and I can hear him coming, and something happened, and Zero Problem comes into the infield, and bang, we hit off each other, and she kind of grabs me, gets the fuck out of the way, gets back up on the track. And like I mentioned earlier, she was the one I went to at the after party. I'm like, are we okay? And she looked at me like I was kind of speaking another language and says, yeah, why? I said, oh, you seemed pretty pissed when when you ran into me in the center track. She said, oh, no, we're good.
That's awesome. I will show my hand here. I find Zero Problem to be completely terrifying on the track. She is amazing. She's a wonderful person. I find she's an absolute delight, but on the track, she is completely terrifying. All right, this question is from a Hellcat. Do you have any game day rituals? So let's start with SKAnic.
I tend to aggressively do nothing. I will make sure on bout day I just make sure that I can just relax and chill and go in with a fresh mind, try to plan as little as I can, like activity-wise ahead of the bout, just because I don't want to, risk it running late, I guess. I don't know. I tend to really enjoy relaxing and then going and having a free day ahead of time.
Awesome. Brit, what about you?
Yeah, I think definitely not planning any other activity beforehand. I don't like being late. It's going to stress me out. I prefer to come relaxed. And then, honestly, I'll spend a little bit of time beforehand. I'll probably like the early afternoon, I'll iron my shirt, I'll shave, I'll get my tie and everything. I like being dressed up. I don't know why, but I like being dressed up for a bout. So yeah, that's probably my ritual: is ironing my shirt, getting my tie, getting all that tie pin, shaving, making myself look pretty or fancy, as my wife would say.
I love that. Pretty or fancy, it's fine. I will say, right before we get to Slam, I do love that about roller derby, that everybody, like, with our league, you can kind of dress up or get as fancy as you want to in whatever way that, like, dressing up or looking good means to you. There's kind of a whole broad spectrum of how people like to present for bouts, which is really fun. Slam, what about you? What's your bout day ritual?
I don't live in Austin, but I know that Austin has a lot of great places to eat. And I like to eat. And so I will usually leave my house in New Braunfels at 4 o'clock, because by the time I get through Austin traffic and get somewhere in the vicinity where there's a place where I want to go eat, it's 5. That gives me plenty of time to eat, get over to the Palmer, get parked, get changed, and usually get there right around the time the doors open.
That's awesome. That's really great. That's fun. There are some amazing places to eat in Austin who are doing delivery during this pandemic. So support local. From the Holy Rollers, which Hogwarts house do you belong to? Let's start with SKAnic.
So, I have had many people tell me that I am Hufflepuff, just based on the fact of who I am and how I act, but every single test I've ever taken tells me I'm Slytherin, so that's what I go with. I know, there I am, I'm a Slytherin. There's nothing I can do about it.
A stealth Slytherin disguising himself as a Hufflepuff. Brit, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, every test I've done, and I'll take the official Pottermore one as well, is Slytherin. And it's fine. I think Slytherin is practical.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Slam, what about you?
Practical.
I have never taken any sort of test. I know they're out there because my wife talks about it all the time because she is a mammoth Harry Potter fan. So I'm going to have to steal hers and say that I've married into Gryffindor is what I'm going to say.
That's fair. I can
That's
see that.
good.
I can see it go for you. You know, I do wonder. So, if you're watching this and you don't know, every year TXRD does a Harry Potter bout, and the skaters. It's kind of a mashup bout. We skate as the Harry Potter teams: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, and you put yourself on the team. You know, the house you are in, and it's very interesting because some teams. Hellcats, for example, have a lot of Hufflepuffs and Ravenclaws. And I believe the Puthas have a lot of Gryffindors. So I'm kind of wondering if there's a specific house that kind of lends itself towards reffing, if that's reffing is a Slytherin trait, enforcing the rules.
So, though magic spells in that bout do make refereeing very difficult. In the Harry Potter bout with the magic spell, that's so confusing.
I'm sure reffing our in-house are a nightmare. It's just...
It's wild.
If you've never been to one of our in-house bouts, they are a ton of fun. They often get very silly because, like I said, we're mashed up. It's not for any sort of standings, so everybody just kind of... It's our chance to go especially crazy. And yes, often we have spells where we can do silly things. The audience participates. Yeah, in-house bouts are a ton of fun, and I'm sure they're a nightmare to ref, so sorry.
No, that's so much fun.
Yeah, we love it.
Awesome. Okay, we have a question from apparently everyone watching the live stream wants to know about Brit. Tell us about your cat. What is their name?
Oh.
What's their story?
Amusingly,
Yay!
this is Fiona, who is generally the most neurotic of our 3 cats. And now she's the focus of attention. She's like, I'm going to leave. We have 3 cats. So we have Fiona and Dharma, who my wife Kim, who many of you know, brought when she moved in with me, and then Alice, who we got together. So we have 3 cats, but Fiona is the most neurotic, probably the prettiest, and the most skittish.
Aww.
Aww,
That's
I
adorable.
love that. Well, I'm so glad she joined our live stream. This is a question from Las Putas del Fuego. What is one thing that you wish skaters knew about you? Or you wish skaters knew about you? Let's start with Slam.
I guess that I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this as much as they tell us we appreciate doing it. It was not easy going to the level 1 skate class as a guy about to turn 50 with 30 girls my daughter's age. The league could have very easily run me off, but I want them to know just how much I appreciate the fact that I feel like I've been appreciated and brought in to feel as part of the group.
Aw, yeah, we love you. SKAnic, what about you?
That was such a wholesome answer. I don't want to follow that. I don't know. I like video games. No, I really no. That was such a good answer, and I have nothing comparable to answer to follow that up. But no, I in a very generally vague sort of way to follow that. I also really appreciate how much attention and care that a lot of the skaters give to us for all the work we do. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Brit, your turn.
Yeah, I mean, all these wholesome answers. Yes, I think we we appreciate you as much as you appreciate us. So that's I think that's it. I just said yeah, we appreciate you. I think the other thing that in this case, like when my wife Kim, who has skated and got into the hired guns, and then she got pregnant. When Kim first moved to Austin to live with me, the whole league was extended their warmth and friendship to her, just because they were warm and friendly to me, and that meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to her.
Aw, that's so lovely. That's really nice. Okay, here is a question from one of the Rhinestone Cowgirls. What is one of the hardest rules for you to wrap your head around? Let's start with Slam.
Blocker advancement.
Okay.
Still don't quite. I'm not there all the way on that one.
I guess. Okay. So my question is like, understanding the logistics of it, or just understanding like why it's a rule.
More the logistics of it is where I'm just having difficulty being able to. I mean, I'm supposed to watch. People throwing illegal blocks and going backwards and stop blocks, and then I'm supposed to keep track of where somebody goes out of the pack and comes in who's not even the jammer. Come on, I mean, jeez.
That's totally fair. My blocker advancement story, I think I was a hired gun at the time. Although I'm not positive. I might have just been at their practice. I was at a cherry bomb practice. And Lois Slane, we were both blockers, and she advanced around me, and I kind of internally, it must, and it doesn't matter. I kind of internally huffed about it and was like, oh man. And then later, we were, again, both blockers, so I was like, ooh, payback, and I blocker advanced around her, and she goes, hey, that's advancement! You advance! And then everybody yelled at me, and I was like, you did it to me earlier! And she was like, well, you didn't yell about it, so...
It's not penalty if it doesn't get called.
Yeah, that's what I learned. You have to yell when someone does a penalty against you. The lesson I took from that. I love you, Lois. All right, Brit.
Honestly, it doesn't come up that often, but whenever there's a game that's super close, I worry about it coming up at the end, which is there is a penalty that only applies to the last jam of a bout, which is that if a team is losing and they have a penalty, and the winning team has a major penalty against them and they're ahead, the losing team can choose to say, we want another jam and we want to take that penalty, or we want to just decline that penalty. But it's all not very well written. And so whenever we're running into, like, it's super close and there's a potential for a major penalty in the last jam, I start getting worried because it's not a very clear rule.
That is totally fair. I will say there have been a lot of things, and if you are watching and you don't know, I am the ref liaison, so I handle all the postmortems. We talk about, things that happen in the bout. I feel like that happens more often than not. There are rules that it's like, the wording of this rule is just really ambiguous, and so who knows how we are going to enforce it. But SKAnic, what about you?
They took both of my answers. So I got nothing. Yeah, that was it. Those were my two answers.
That's totally fair. That's totally
Oh,
fair.
well.
We have a question in our live from Wombo Combo. If you could change the
Hey.
wrestling uniform from stripes to another fabric pattern, what would it be? Brit, you're first.
Stripes. I'm not sure I would change it. But I would go for the more narrower kind of stripes that I wear, that I can wear a dress shirt with.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that's probably. I would keep stripes, but maybe I'd make it
Fashionable.
maybe make it more pinstripe.
Ooh, a pinstripe would be fun. All right, SKAnic, what about you?
Black t-shirt, checkered suspenders, sunglasses, hat. That way everyone is really appealing to my aesthetic, the ska aesthetic, because I feel like that's really what we're ultimately developing towards anyway.
Ref shirts don't lend themselves to accessorizing very well with suspenders.
No, it's a real bummer.
We'll see if we can fix that for you. Slam, what about you?
Thank you.
Black, white, and gray argyle, not very much unlike an ugly Christmas sweater.
Ooh, I like that too. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love all of these ideas. I think they're great. Really quick, before we jump to a couple questions, let's talk about a couple more of our sponsors. Rock City Realty, www.welcomeHomeLeasing.com. That is Laura. She makes our signs. She is amazing. She's been a TXRD supporter for a very long time, and we love her. Motorblade Postering Services, www.motorblade.com. We love them so very much. Ascent Physical Therapy, www.ascent.com. They also trying to fix our terribly broken banked track bodies. And Doc's Drive-In, www.docsdriveintheater.com. Great place to go while you're social distancing. Doc's has been so sweet to us. So all of these sponsors are absolutely amazing. Feel free to visit their websites, hang out, send them some money because we really love them. All right, let's go to a couple more questions from Las Putas del Fuego. What is your favorite skater shenanigan you've ever seen? And we'll start with Slam.
That would have to be the seniors versus freshmen this year, where the seniors picked up Tornado Sally and dropped her in the garbage can.
That was fun.
Oh, that was.
That was cute. SKAnic, what about you?
I'm very biased because I was part of this when Biddy Boom Boom flipped me backwards over the rail. It was very, let's call it exciting.
I do want to be clear, that's Biddy Biddy Boom Boom. It's a reference to a Selena song.
What did I say?
I know you're from Philly and you don't know that.
Sorry.
It's time to talk about Selena in this video, live stream, whatever. I have feelings. All right, let's go to Brit.
There's a couple. One was Champs last year, last jam or second last jam, when Anita confessed, because I knew it was, she had been ejected at that point, but it was her last bout before she retired. Snuck back on track the moment the jam started, stated the jam, like last or second last jam. That, you know, I like that a lot. Then there is one where Break and Bake grabbed my clipboard and threw my clipboard very, very, very high in the air to the point I was worried it was going to actually hurt someone. And it just kind of floated down and landed on the chair in the penalty box perfectly.
Oh.
I was worried she was going to kill somebody in the crowd. But it just landed.
Oh, that's Cowgirls, did you have any other ref names you were thinking about for yourself before you settled on the one you have? So let's start with SKAnic.
Yes, because I've been through 3 of them at this point. I am, by nature, incredibly indecisive. So when I joined the league, I was the Revengineer, because I have an electrical engineering degree, and I thought that would be cute. It was fine. Then there were... I hope my parents aren't watching. There were several months where I was living in my car. The league got wind of it, specifically Hatchet Ma, and she deemed that I would be #NoHobo for the remainder of that 10-year living in my car. After that, I became Shredpool when I started skating because I felt like I needed a skate name in addition to my ref name, but then that became confusing, so I just sort of merged the two. And then when I started skating with Anarchy properly, I decided to finally join my 2 loves, ska music and Sonic the Hedgehog, and I became SKAnic the Shredhog. So I've gone through a couple already.
And I do just want to be clear to the audience, as his ex-girlfriend, he's not joking about Sonic the Hedgehog and ska music being his 2 loves. That's the 2 number 1.
It's bad. It's real bad.
Those are not bad things to love.
3.
No, those aren't bad things to love. You love what you love. There's no shame there. Let's go to Brit.
No, not really. I mean, I can like cast around a little bit when I was thinking, but I didn't even think of this one. This was actually Kim with some friends in Houston talked about it, and one of his friends came up with Legit to Brit, which just felt perfect. And then was sung about a lot at karaoke one night, and kind of stuck since then.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's good.
Slam,
That's
what about
so cute.
When I was thinking about it, I wanted something kind of patriotic, and I saw a kid at the grocery store who had a shirt on around 4th of July, said red, white, and dude. And I thought, not bad. And then I thought, well, hey, dummy, your name's Ed. You could make it Ed, white, and blue. And then I thought, that's kind of long, and that eventually kind of morphed its way into Uncle Slam.
I like that. I like that. Also,
That's
it just
cute.
occurred to me, that is cute. We call you Slam, but I almost wish we called you Uncle just for the creepy factor. This is Uncle. Anyway, I've had a lot of coffee. And not a lot of food. So let's go to a question from the hired guns, those sweet baby angels. What kind of skills are useful for being a rep? Has being a rep developed skills outside of derby? So let's start with Brit.
I think the biggest skill that is important, at least as a bout rep, is the ability to, when everybody is shouting at you and there is a real sense of urgency, to be prepared to say stop and take a breath and have the discussion with the refs so that you reach the right decision. Because 10 seconds, 20 seconds feels like you're delaying the game 5 minutes. And that's definitely been useful in my work life, particularly professional life, to just be prepared to take a few extra seconds to think something through before you come to a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good skill to have. SKAnic, what about you?
Yeah, definitely to sort of bounce off that. The last a couple months ago, I was job hunting, and in basically every interview, they ask you, how do you work under pressure? And every single time, I would bring up roller derby referee as sort of my cornerstone of, I have potentially hundreds and maybe thousands of people angry at me, and I need to be able to make a decision, stick to it, know that this is the right move, and just being able to really hone in on that ability, which you definitely develop over time, has been a huge what am I looking for? A talent that I've been able to develop over these years. Just concisiveness.
Yeah, and to kind of speak to that, I have a question. I think it was you telling me about, like, you know, when you decide lead jammer, you just decide it and stick to it. And I kind of was like, well, what if you're wrong? Or as a skater, didn't quite understand that until I was at a bout and I saw somebody be like, "You're lead." Wait, no. Yes, you are. No. the skater who was jammer was like, "What am I doing?" So yeah, there's definitely, it's very helpful for us. You guys are just like, "Here's what I'm deciding, and we're gonna do it."
We've all done that.
Uncle Slam,
okay. A thick skin is number one. And number two, going back to my story about Zara, peripheral vision is what I'm going to go to as my other one. It's really good. And decisiveness. I'm going to piggyback on what Matt said there.
I think decisiveness is such a huge one. I do tell, we have a little ref check-in before every bout and just go over some notes about the game. But one of the things I tell all my refs is, because at the end of every jam, point refs, penalty refs, line refs are going to tell me if something is happening. And my thing is, like, this doesn't help me. If you signal to me like, I don't know, that's not helpful. Be decisive. Either you saw something or you didn't see something, at least not to the point that you could call it a penalty.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I do just want to reiterate, you know, being a rep is a tough job. Not to discourage anybody, we definitely want you to join us. We love you guys. It's tough. It's hard. There's so many things happening on the track all at the same time that you have to just to see and then be very confident about.
I think it's also, we're gonna get things wrong, and it's okay, and we need to acknowledge that we're human. And we'll go back and we'll look at, you know, we have postmortems where we talk about the games with the teams afterwards. We can go back and look at video. So obviously, you know, it's not okay to just be consistently wrong about basic stuff. But there are times we're going to make mistakes or we're going to miss things. And accepting that and knowing that we're doing the best job possible while being humans, I think is important as well, to know that in yourself.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of, as hot-headed as the skaters can get during the game, you know, it is, you guys are humans and good stuff, and we love you guys. Anyway, let's go to a question. Saturn in Habitat says, "Hi, Audrey." Hi, hello. Audrey is my government name, but I don't know through what channel this was said hello or who you are, because Saturn in Habitat is not a screen name that's familiar to me. So tell me who you are, because I talked to you. That's not genuine that I meant it to sound. I genuinely just am confused, and I really like you, I'm sure. All right. Let's go to a question from Beep Bap Boop. The Rhinestone Cowgirls. Back to names, what is your favorite derby name that you have ever heard? Let's start with Slam.
Sorry, TXRD, but it was Scream Puff from the Tilted Thunder Railbirds when they came down for Skate by Skate West. I just died when I heard that name. I just thought it was fantastic.
That's really fun. That's super fun. SKAnic, what about you?
It was a rec league bout years ago. It was leprechauns versus rainbows, I think, something like that. And one of the leprechaun skaters, and by the nature of me telling it as a story, it won't make sense, but the name was Patty O Furniture. And when you see it written, it doesn't really make sense. And I saw it a bunch of times, like, that's so stupid. That doesn't make any sense. What the hell's this name? And then I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, this stupid name, Patio Furniture. Patio Furniture! I love it! Such an immediate 180. And since then, it's been my absolute favorite. And that I routinely tell people that is my favorite skater name. And if that was you, please reach out to me, because you are my favorite person in the whole wide world.
That's good. That's good. Brit, your turn.
There's two TXRD ones that stick in my head, and there's also my wife Kim. She went through New Girls and got into hired guns. And had our first child and is now working on our second child, so has not skated about. But I'm not going to go into the reasons why, because it sounds mundane. But if you know Kim, then you know that Armed and Dangerous is a great derby name for her. But I'm not gonna go into why for people who don't know it, because I'm not sure it's necessarily appropriate. The two in TXRD that do one, Soviet Crusher, because I just love that name. And I say it in a Russian accent in my head when I think it. And then the other one, I'm from Manchester, and New Order and Joy Division are very important bands to me. So Boy Division is one of my favorite derby names.
Oh, that's fun.
That's so cute.
Boy Division's a really good one. I really like that. All right, let's get into a question from the hired guns. What do you like most about being a ref for TXRD? And let's start with SKAnic.
I like being part of everything. Since I had been a fan for, what did I say, 4 or 5 years? Something before, like, finally getting involved. It was, like I was saying in my story earlier, it just had never occurred to me that you could just, like, be part of this amazing thing of just, just become a ref. You can just do that. Like, that blew my mind. So just getting to be part of this culture, part of this community, which is the best culture and community I've ever found, getting to be part of this family is just absolutely amazing, and I love it, and I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Aw, that's so lovely. Brit, your turn.
I mean, I have to follow that. That is, it is the community. I mean, honestly, when I moved to Austin, I knew nobody in Austin. And so the roller derby community was the community that welcomed me, and that's the first people I met outside of work in Austin. So it's an important community to me. And just to be able to give back to that community and be an even more central part of that community just is really good, and it is really fulfilling as well.
Yeah, that's so lovely. Slam, your turn.
Like they said, to be part of the organization, the group, to be involved in everything is great. My favorite thing is just being able to be inside the track on bout days and experience what it's like to be at the center of the action, and to know that doesn't matter who might be ripping you a new one between jams because they think you screwed something up, that afterwards at the after party they'll come up to you and buy you a drink. So it's just a great thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, again, not to turn this into a plug, but I'm going to turn it into a plug. These are all great reasons why being a ref is super fun, and we love to have you around, and it's the coolest way to get super close to the action and get yelled at by skaters, which is fun. Here's a question from a Rhinestone Cowgirl. Who is your favorite jammer to watch? And let's start with Slam.
I got to go with Like a Boss. She just gets in there and doesn't take any shit. And, I mean, she knows where she wants to go, and if she can't get through a hole, she'll make a hole if she has to.
Yeah, absolutely. I have witnessed that firsthand as someone on the other team. Too legit to Brit, your turn.
I'm not sure if I could pick between them, but it's almost going to the opposite end of the spectrum from Boss. Is the speed and agility of either Ninja or Max. Those are two. It's almost balletic sometimes the way they can get through a pack, and that's amazing. It's amazing to watch a jammer get through the pack as if the pack isn't there. That's the thing that makes me most amazed. Sometimes I think one of the things that watching roller derby with a sense of amazement is when you watch a jammer be untouched getting through a pack.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm chiming in a lot on this question. I think just as a skater, it's definitely an interesting experience. Both of those jammers trying to block them because just 1 minute they're there and then they're gone, and you're like, where did she go? How did this happen? But yeah, they're so graceful and it's like water they just slip through. Anyway, SKAnic, who is a jammer you like to watch?
All right, I got two answers. I'm going to echo Brit here. Ninja is fantastic just because I love the way she'll wait behind the pack, and you can see her. She'll just sit there and wait until the opportune moment and then just go. And it's such a, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like the patience that she shows is just amazing. But then also on, again, the other side of that, it's a tie between Huff and Brawl Rat only because they love their snacks and they will take their snacks during a jam. And as a ref, I hate it, but as a fan, I love it. And please stop doing it because it makes our job very difficult, but keep doing it because I love it so much. It's a real tough line to follow.
If
Yes,
you're going to bring it up for everybody.
Brawl Rat and Huff specifically, but watching them, I've worked a lot with children, so my nanny instinct kicks in, and I'm just like, you're gonna choke! Stop it!
Yeah, we're always worried.
I will never stop eating my snacks. Just gonna chime in here and say that I am never stopping.
It stresses me out so much. I swear, I feel like I never go into like childcare mode. I do. That's not true. When we were at Battle on the Bank 2 years ago, Sexy Sadie dropped food on the floor and then went to eat it, or she like went to grab it, and I went, "Don't put that in your mouth." And then she put it in her mouth, and I was very angry. You guys are stressing me out. All right, let's get a question from a cold roller. What has been your favorite TXRD moment? And let's start with SKAnic.
Interesting. My favorite TXRD moment is probably a little different than others. It's the first time I went to Rec League as a skater. I had just started skating. I didn't really know what I was doing. And they asked if I wanted to jam, and I said no, and they said too bad, and they handed me the star, and I got through the pack, and I scored 4 points, and I felt really good about myself, and I think had it not been for that, I might not have continued skating because I was very unsure about the whole prospect in general, but having gone through it and really enjoyed the excitement and the just energy of it. It really is such a big moment for me, having especially seen both sides as a ref and as a skater. It really sticks in my mind as an important moment for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brit, what about you?
that's a. I don't know. It's tough to pick a moment. I think from the community one, actually, it's um, the first TXRD party I ever went to, um, which I think was at Boss's house. Just because I was very new to Austin. Um, and so I didn't really know. I knew about 3 or 4 people I'd maybe been to about. And the only person I knew relatively well was Boss, just because I saw her at her work because it was next to my work. And everybody was so welcoming. It's weird to go to a party where you don't feel like you know anyone. Uh, and it was like the least weird party I ever went to where I didn't know anyone at the start. Um, and that really just kind of brought home how nice and welcoming the community is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that about TXRD, and I think roller derby in general, is that we're all a bunch of puppies. We want to be your friend. Let's be your friends. All right, Slam, what about you?
The 2 drafts that I've been to since becoming a ref, but in particular, I got to say the one last summer in June, because Copperhead, who had helped out during the level 1 class that I took, and KCDC, who was actually in the level 1 class I took, both got drafted, and I was just so happy for them that they got to be members of the league, and it was just fantastic. I almost think I was as happy as they were.
Aww.
Yeah, they got drafted as Hellcats. I will say, and if you are watching this and are not a skater, our drafts are open again when the world reopens and when we're doing things. Come to draft; it's so much fun. It's my favorite night of the year. It is an absolute blast. Okay, Brit, we did not get your answer correct.
No, we got mine.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did we get everybody? I was talking to Buffy on our Google Doc, so I got distracted.
Have you been drinking?
No, I would never. All right. Here is a question from former TXRD ref Judge Red. What was your favorite group costume for Rollerball, and why was it Thundercats? But really, what was your favorite group costume for Rollerball, or just in general, what's a group costume idea that you love? Let's start with SKAnic.
Hi, Judge Red. How you doing? So, to give some context to the question, that would have been 4 or 5 years ago. Rollerball is our big end of season party, and all the refs had done a big. The theme was childhood cartoons, something like that, and all the refs dressed up as Thundercats, which was very fun. But it's hard to really pin down a single theme group costume that would work because the theme changes every year. So if I had to pick one that would be my favorite, it would honestly probably be cartoons again. I know we're not allowed to because that's how things work. But there's so many cartoons and there's so many good themes. Maybe video games as well. I don't know. I got too many ideas going through right now, but there's a lot of possibilities here. So my answer is I don't know.
Fair. That's fair. Britt, do you have an answer?
I've only ever managed to make it to one rollerball. Annoyingly, although partly that's because we then had a baby who was 2 months old at one rollerball. But it's one of my most perfect costumes I've done for myself. But unfortunately, it was only exactly one half of Team Rocket. And I needed another half. But it was also at that point that, in terms of making yourself feel old, I was chatting to Netflix and Kill, who was a hired gun at the time, who talked about how she had a Pokemon-themed party when she was 6. and and that made me feel quite old at the time. But the costume was perfect. It was one of the best costumes I'd put together, and I would do that again if I can find another half of Team Rocket.
That is fantastic. Uncle Slam, tell me about your favorite costume, group costume. What do you want to do?
Can't speak to rollerball. Haven't been to one. My wife and I, when we were in college, decided we were going to do a king queen type thing for Halloween one year, except we put a little twist on it. She was Cleopatra and I was Elvis.
I love that. That is fantastic. That's so fun. All right. This is from the Rhinestone Cowgirls. If you were allowed to come up with a new penalty, what would it be? And it is not clear in the question if it would be penalizing something we do or a new like penalty face-off. So I guess you can answer either. Let's start with Brit. What would your new penalty be?
I wouldn't have any new penalties because we've already got enough or too many different penalties. There would be nothing else I don't think I would call people on. New minor penalties. That's a tough question. I don't know. I can't think of another penalty face-off. There's penalty face-offs I might remove.
What would you remove?
I would remove push cart. I don't like
Which one?
What?
What would you remove?
Oh, when TXRD broadcasted their favorite 8 penalties, and that was like I think at the top or right at the top of the list, and I was listening to it driving home from a ref practice. And I was shouting at the podcast because they put that really, really high, and they really low.
Wait, what was the penalty? I missed it.
I would get rid of push cart.
Push cart. Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. SKAnic, what about you?
I like push cart. I feel attacked right now. No, so every once in a while, we will have a dance-off. It's never been officially on the wheel, to my recollection, and it tends to only really come up during in-house bouts, but I could see it making an official place on the wheel if we, like, really leaned into it a little bit harder, and I think that could be very fun. And give Spank Alley a little more influence on the game.
So
I like the idea of another Spank Alley penalty choice.
That you're wrong.
Why not?
I
Fine.
I could be wrong about this. I thought dance off was on the penalty wheel at one point. I could be completely wrong because if it was on the penalty wheel, it has not been in my tenure as a TXRD member. But I thought it was for that. But so this is what I heard is that it got taken off because people would get it and then like not really do it or not do it well. And as someone who cannot dance, I do not want ever to be forced to do a dance off. That would be a disaster. It is literally a nightmare I have had. Please don't make me dance. Slam, what about you?
Well, I guess you're lucky it's not up to us because that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the dance off. I remember in the preseason bout last year against the West Coast Villains. It was Trouble and who was it from the visiting team?
Mental Skate.
Mental Skate. It was fantastic. It was awesome.
That was fantastic. No, that totally was fantastic. And I agree that watching a dance-off between people who are good at it and want to do it is fantastic to watch. But I love our audience and don't want them to be subjected to me dancing. That's out of concern for our audience.
Well, if you did it like we've started doing for pillow fights where there is no restriction or no danger of subbing someone in.
I was going to say, you can sub someone in. You know the rules.
That's fair. Okay. All right. Well, it is almost 9:30, so we are wrapping this up. This is the end. Thank you so much for being here, our lovely refs. Let's get any last words our refs want to say. Brit, is there anything you want to say to our audience before we go?
And nothing other than I hope we are back soon. I hope that I get to. My wife is expecting our second baby, so I would probably not be reffing much next year. So I very much hope that there will be an opportunity for me to ref again this year. I think that for me, as I talked about the community of TXRD goes beyond the skaters and the league members, and it extends to the fans who come to the game as well. They all make it a wonderful experience and makes me, and I think probably everyone else on the ref crew, feel very excited and appreciated, and feel that it's worth doing what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. SKAnic, last words.
Yeah, if you're here already, then you probably already love roller derby, but it really is the absolute greatest family and community I've ever found. Sorry, my actual family, but I would really encourage everyone watching to come to the bouts. If you're interested in reffing, come ref. If you're interested in skating, check out our Derby Academy or our Rec League, which I run. It really is a fantastic community, and it builds you up in a way that I just genuinely never thought possible.
All right, Slam, what do you want to say to everybody?
Can't wait to get back. Practice, bouts, miss it more than I thought I would, frankly. I mean, I really, really miss it. And like to piggyback on what Matt said, yeah, if you're watching this, you probably know of the community or are part of the community, but tell a friend, tell 2 friends, tell 3 friends. The guy working with finally came to the last bout and is absolutely hooked. Can't wait to go again. And I know the bouts are the primary source of revenue for the league, so tell everyone you can.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, before we go, don't forget to check out our sponsors, Pasta & Co., Medusa Skates, Fit Therapy / Mr. Fix-It, Pride Socks, Rock City Realty, Motorblade Postering Services, Ascent Physical Therapy, and Doc's Drive-In. If you want to join us once we're back up, please email recruitment@txrd.com, email refs@txrd.com. It doesn't just have to be skating or refs. You can join us in a ton of different capacities. So email us for more info. Our next live stream is going to be Cherry Bombs and Rhinestone Cowgirls on May 23rd at 7 p.m. Central Time. Can't wait to talk to them. And don't forget, check out our website, txrd.com. We have merch. We have our GoFundMe. There are a ton of ways to support us. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, refs, for being with us tonight. And good night, Austin, Texas, wherever you are.
Bye.